Questions to consider. Number 1, what important role do social interactions and language have in your classroom? Number 2, what are some techniques you use in literacy to support English language learners? And number 3, what are your thoughts on multi-literacies? And do you integrate any of these new literacies into your classroom or instruction? Sociolinguistics is a social learning perspective that emphasizes the central role of social interactions in the development of knowledge and learning. The first application of the sociolinguistic perspective to the field of reading emerged around the 1970s. It is rooted in the fields of anthropology, linguistics, and literacy analysis. Bernstein was one of the first to write about the connection between language ability and social class. He recognized that one's speech patterns reflect one's cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds. He also reflected on the idea that social class gets passed down intergenerationally through the use of language. Sociolinguistics emphasizes that language is learned as a result of people's social interactions with each other, and therefore varying language patterns are perpetuated with educational and social class differences. Sociocultural theory emphasizes the roles of social, cultural, and historical factors in the human experience. It's different than sociolinguistics because sociolinguistics focuses more on the aspects of language interactions, whereas sociocultural theory focuses more on the broader concept of culture. In regards to literacy, it's stated that the sociocultural approach attempts to be non-judgmental and to understand and employ the practices of culturally diverse groups to foster literacy learning. Yuri Bronfenbrenner suggested that there are layers of influence in a child's development. The first layer is the microsystem. It's the innermost layer. These are things like home and school environments. The second layer is the mesosystem. This is the layer of interaction that exists between two microsystems. So you can think of that such as like home and school connections. The third layer is the exosystem. These are influences such as local, national, and worldwide events. The last is the macrosystem. It's used to explain some of the consistencies observed at the microsystem and mesosystem levels. One theorist, Louise Moll, argued that teachers must begin to value the funds of knowledge that students bring to school and use them as vehicles for literacy learning. His work was important because it emphasized the central role of social and cultural influences on literacy. Lev Vygotsky was one of the earliest social learning theorists. He created the theory of learning that we all know as social constructivism. Vygotsky's first major idea was that children learn as a result of their social interactions with others. His second key idea in social constructivism was that children's development depends on their interaction with the sign systems. And sign systems are basically just oral and printed language. His most influential concept, though, was the zone of proximal development, which is a term that refers to the ideal leveling of task difficulty needed to facilitate learning. Another key idea in Vygotsky's social constructivism is scaffolding, which is the assistance that adults and more competent peers provide during learning episodes. Vygotsky had similar thoughts to Piaget. Both theorists agreed that development occurred in a series of stages that is the same for all learners. The difference, however, is that Vygotsky believed that learning results as a function of interacting with others. He believed that for a child to internalize the behavior must first occur socially, and only then would become part of the internal knowledge of the child. Albert Bandura is a Canadian psychologist who coined the idea of social learning theory, which we now know as social cognitive theory. This theory argues that people learn more from observing others than they do from the consequences of experiencing things themselves. Bandura noted 4 stages of observational learning. The first is the attentional phase, which the observers watch the model. The second is the retention phase, in which the observer thinks about the process that they observed. The third is the reproduction phase, in which observers repeat the behavior that has been modeled, and the fourth is the reinforcement phase, in which the observers are reinforced as they repeat the modeled behaviors. His newest research and writings also emphasize the role of self-efficacy in learning. Self-efficacy refers to one's belief that he or she possesses the ability to attain a specific goal. Bandura's writings have had tremendous impact on the field of psychology and education. Teachers use his concepts of observational learning as a basis for classroom management.
Critical literacy theory. Critical literacy theory considers the relationships between individuals, literacy, and social transformation. Critical literacy theory seeks to explain the ways in which education and literacy shape people's lives, and the ways in which people can use education and literacy to reshape society. In Freyr's words, people live in social contexts which mark them and which they also mark. This theory challenges the traditional belief that education is a politically neutral process designed to promote the individual development of all children. Hansfield continued saying, within critical literacy theory, there's an overarching emphasis on how broad structures of power, in particular social institutions, contribute to inequity, and teachers and students are prompted to use literacy to address social inequities in students' immediate or local communities. Important contributors to this theory are J. G. and B. Street. Street used the term autonomous and ideological. Autonomous suggests that literacy skills can be learned regardless of one's social context. And an ideological perspective on literacy argues that all texts and readers have values representing a particular worldview. As educators, critical literacy theory promotes that we need to teach kids to be critical readers and thinkers so they can figure out an author's true purpose for writing. Critical race theory. Critical race theory has its roots in the fields of law, sociology, history, ethnic studies, and women's studies. Critical race theory shares its roots with critical literacy theory. It too functions on the relationship between individuals, literacy, power, and social transformation. But critical race theory highlights the dimension of race when considering these relationships. According to Hansfield, critical race theory is especially questioning of white male ways of knowing and power. And according to Rector Aranda, critical race theory also recognizes that the disproportionate failings of non-white students in the American educational system are largely caused by larger oppressive social and institutional systems. A group of researchers in Connecticut named the New London Group developed the concept of multiliteracies to describe the new kinds of skills readers needed to negotiate electronic environments. Hansfield described multiliteracies as the proliferation and shift in tools and practices associated with rapidly changing communication, technologies, and globalization. The principal argument here is that the rapidly shifting or didactic nature of literacy technologies is radically different in speed and scope from earlier technological advances in literacy, tools, and practices, such as the development of the printing press or even the typewriter. Proponents of this theoretical orientation argue that new times require corresponding shifts in how we think about teaching and learning. Multiliteracies are also known as new literacies. The social learning perspectives are extremely popular among reading educators. Some classroom practices consistent with social learning theories are, but not just limited to, the use of literacy centers in the classroom, shared readings, paired reading, cross-age reading and tutoring, guided reading, process writing, shared writing, guided writing, literature circles, morning meetings, and email pals. All of these practices emphasize the social nature of learning, meaning students can learn a great deal from the world around them, the people around them, both adults and children. The chapter also goes on to give several examples of ways that you can implement these practices in your classroom. The chapter also goes on to emphasize social networking. Social networking sites have changed social interaction, and therefore using applications that facilitate social interaction are the technology to integrate into today's classroom. Some of these include teacher websites and wikis, Google Docs, voice threads, and ePals. A large number of scholars in the field of literacy use social learning perspectives to present and interpret their research. This book gives several examples of research that has been done using social learning perspectives. I'm going to briefly share 3 of the examples they gave us with you. Kim, M, and Kwan did a study in 2015 that examined toddlers' home literacy environments to predict their preschool vocabulary and decoding abilities. The research is conducted an analysis of pre-existing data for 6,050 children. These children were monolingual English, typically developing, and of diverse socioeconomic and ethnic backgrounds. Their data included parent questionnaires regarding the home literacy environment, with questions such as the number of books in the home or the number of storybook readings per week, and measures of children's vocabulary and decoding abilities. Assessments were taken at age 2 and then again at age 4.5. The results showed that indicated that family SES when the child was 2 years old significantly predicted children's vocabulary and decoding ability at age 4.5. Next is Kinski and Bruce in 2016. And social learning theory was used to frame a study on the use of Twitter in the classroom. Students watched the Super Bowl, the Academy Awards, March Madness, and the Winter Olympics, and were required to tweet comments about the actions, advertisements, or performances while watching these events. Most of the participants had no previous knowledge about Twitter, and over the course of the study, they became proficient at tweeting and gained authentic writing mechanics experience. The study revealed that almost all the students were positively engaged with what they were required to do. They expressed satisfaction with the tweeting experience and reported they felt an increased closeness to other students in their class. The teacher reported increased engagement and confidence among the students, and increased evidence of critical thinking and increased exposure to real-world experiences. Linking the study of social learning theory, the authors wrote that one of the favorite aspects of the assignment reported by students was reading what others were tweeting. This observation of others' posts ties into Bender's social cognitive theory that people learn from what they see others doing, whether those models are present or in a mediated form, and that the viewer has the agency to decide whether or not to imitate the model. The last I want to share with you is Kuby and Vaughn, and they use multiliteracy theory to contribute to an understanding of the ways in which young children's interactions with model literacy shape their identities. They used a kindergarten student from a Pacific Northwest public school and a second grade student from a Midwestern university community. The student body of the Pacific Northwest community was primarily white, European American, of varied SES backgrounds. And the student body of the Midwestern university community was of mixed racial, ethnic, and SES cultures. Both students were studied for a full academic year during periods of writing workshops. 4 insights were observable in both students. 1, a sense of identity shifts throughout the school year. 2, the importance of being a teacher to other children in the classroom. 3, a stage of becoming a multimodal visionary. And 4, a stage of being a designer and mentor in the classroom. In conclusion, social learning theories are useful for researchers in the field of literacy and provide a variety of research options in this area.